Okay. I hope you're super excited today. My name is Bitcoin Mike. I'm going to be your host tonight. I have the pleasure of introducing our guest speaker and to go over a little housekeeping things before we get started. Um, if you invited guests, go ahead and take a few seconds to send them a reminder. Sometimes people get busy, they forget, they get distracted. So send them a quick reminder to get them on here so that you don't want them to miss anything. And go ahead and take you a pen and paper, have it handy. Get to a quiet space, cut off the TV. We don't want you distracted because we don't want you to miss any of this information. Because once Coach Brian gets started, he's going to be moving fast because we don't want to waste your time. So um, I'm going to start by saying that this is our Cryptex DeFi hybrid contract overview. And Coach Brian has been involved in the direct sales and network distribution industries for the last 30 years. In that time, he has consistently built massive teams and developed a great deal of expertise in the technology, health and wellness, and cryptocurrency fields. His reputation as a coach, trainer, and comp plan developer has led to several companies recruiting him as an executive level consultant. In that capacity, he has spent the last decade plus developing teams in North America, South America, Australia, New Zealand, Europe, and Asia, helping them facilitate the sales of more than $1 billion in products and services. So the next voice that you're going to hear from is going to be none other than Coach Brian. Coach Brian, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir. I'm here, Mike. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You're loud and clear. Take it away.
Oh, fantastic, man. Well, thanks again for all that you do. I appreciate you. Appreciate your leadership. Excited. I mean, super excited to be able to work on this project with you and do what we're doing, man. Kind of getting the word out about this incredible company that I think I'll be honest about. We kind of stumbled upon and realized that it was a hidden gem, at least here where we were in our circle. And now starting to share this with so many people and seeing the results and seeing how it's kind of restored some hope to people. This has been pretty exciting. So, guys, hopefully you heed it what Mike said. You grab the pen, grab the piece of paper. I've been told at least that I say a lot and I say it fast. But I do want to be respectful of your time. I simply want you to get enough information from this brief presentation that you can get your questions answered at the end, and then you can make an informed business decision. So that's all we're asking that you do. In fact, guys, I want to tell you something. Neither myself nor Mike are owners of Cryptex. We're not. And anybody who invited you here is not an owner or a principal in the company. We don't get to make the decisions. We're just people like you. We saw this. It was presented to us. It made a lot of sense because of our position and what we know about this industry. We were able to go do some deep dives in terms of research. And when we were done, we were satisfied that this definitely met the level for our risk tolerance. And it was something that, based off what they were asking for up front and what the promise was as a result, it was something that made a tremendous amount of sense to us. So all we're asking you to do is the same exact thing. Evaluate this, determine if this makes sense for you and your family. And if it does, engage. If it doesn't, do not engage. Again, once again, that is completely your decision. Now, what I'm going to do here tonight is real simple. I'm going to simply give three things for you, three different pieces of this presentation. The first, I'm going to go over the Cryptex offer. Who is Cryptex? What is it that they do, and why should you care? What are they offering you? I promise you, once I actually share the offer with you, you're going to have this moment where it pops into your brain. There's no way that they can't be doing that. That's almost too good to be true. That's why the second part of this presentation is going to be the proof. When we dug into it, when we did our research, what did we find? We're going to share that information with you as well. And then once you're satisfied that the offer is incredible, the offer is real, you're going to start to think there's not a person that I know who would not benefit from having this as a part of their wealth portfolio. We're going to show you that if you want to go out and share it with those people, there's a way for you to start earning immediately. I don't mean a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. I mean the moment that you jump off of this webinar, you can actually put yourself in position to start earning some income today. So because they pay instantly. So we're going to share all three of those things with you. And then at the end of this webinar, again, get your questions answered and make the decision for you and your family. So let's get you in the right mind frame though. Let's just say that you were driving down the street and you saw this billboard in your particular city, your particular town. It said bank loans, $30,000 or $40,000, guaranteed approval. We're not going to check your credit. We're not going to check your job history or your income. We're not even going to ask you for your ID. We don't even need to know your name. If you simply have a $100 processing fee, you are guaranteed to walk out of this bank with $30,000 or $40,000 as a loan. Guys, if you saw that and you drove down to that local bank, you'd see a line that probably stretched across the horizon of people standing in line waving their $100 bill. And if you came back a couple months later, we'd probably see that the bank was out of business, right? Because let's face it, if they gave out $30,000 and $40,000 loans to people and they didn't even check their identification, chances are a lot of the people would say they don't even know who I am. I'm not coming back to make the payments, and they would just disappear into the abyss. So this could never happen, would never happen. But what I'm going to show you is how Cryptex, they started with this premise, right? And they took some of the finer elements of this, but figured out a way to do this in essence without actually passing on any level of risk to the bank or to you or to any of the other parties involved. That's what the magic is about Cryptex. So let's get started at the beginning though, guys. Cryptex is a community-based project utilizing a blockchain-based DeFi staking protocol. They've got partnerships with banks, insurance companies, and account holders like us where we all get to profit. Now, Cryptex offers this unique DeFi hybrid contract that consists of two separate parts, a smart contract and a decentralized Oracle network to support that smart contract. There's currently over 800,000 account holders, people like you and I around the world that have decided to engage with this platform. And Cryptex is not new. Even if you're just hearing of it today, it's been around since 2016. So this is an incredibly long-standing project that is continuing to get it done day after day, helping to change the lives of their account holders. Now, what is staking? It's a staking platform, but what does that mean? Well, staking is the process of keeping your crypto assets locked. In this case, we're talking about Bitcoin. You keep it locked for a contractual period of time in order to generate passive income, in our case, daily passive income. Now, locked assets protect the network's ability to generate crypto profits, and as a reward, the staker slash participant, that would be us, we get these daily returns. This is very similar to getting a CD, a certificate of deposit from your bank. The longer the term, the better the interest. You tell them they can hold your money for 6 months, they'll give you one rate. You tell them they can hold it for a year, 2 years, or 3 years, you get a much better interest rate. Now, what Cryptex has done is they've created this 4-part profit partnership where everybody wins, but everybody has their own unique responsibilities. For your part, you're going to create a free account with the Cryptex using only your email address and password. That's the only identifying information they need from you. You're going to then buy a $100 processing fee. That's what you're going to pay for a DeFi staking contract. And then you get to decide if that contract will be for a 3-year, a 5-year, or a 7-year term. Now, I'm going to show you the difference between those terms here in a moment, but remember, no matter what, you get a maximum of 80 of these contracts, no exceptions. Now, for the bank's part, they're going to make a loan or loans directly to the staking contract on your behalf. That is important, what I just said, directly to the staking contract. So even though it's on your behalf, you don't get to touch the money. That's why they don't care about your credit rating, your job history, any of those things, because you're no longer a risk because you can't do anything else with the funds. That's important. Now, those loans for a 3-year term, that's going to be $30,240. That's going to be loaned to the staking pool on your behalf. For a 5 and 7-year term, it's going to be $43,200 for each. Now, for the bank's part, they're going to receive 6.75% interest annually on each one of those loans. And at the conclusion of the loan term, the bank gets back all of their initial loan capital without you being able to touch anything before they get paid. So they make sure their risk is actually minimized. Now, here's where we completely eliminate their risk. Cryptex has employed insurance companies that will now come out and insure the staking wallet. That means Cryptex for catastrophic loss or default. So if anything happens to Cryptex for any reason, the bank is still guaranteed to get their money back. This removes all of their risk. For the insurance company's part for doing this, they're going to get these automatic monthly premiums paid to them every single month, on time, every time, for $210 a month if it's for the 3-year contracts, and for $300 $100 a month if it's for the 5 or 7 year contracts. And then finally, we've got the smart contract that actually ties and weaves all of this together into this profit partnership. This is going to calculate automatically the daily profits. It's going to be micro compounding, guys, 0.1 to 0.3% on average per day, but it adds up big over time. They're also going to pay the bank back their annual interest, as well as they're going to give them back the initial capital at the end of the contract term. They're also going to pay the insurance company their monthly premiums, meaning you don't have to worry about any of that accounting or anything. It's all being done automatically out of the profits that you're generating. And after everyone else gets paid back and it's all free and clear, we get to keep what's left over. And I'm telling you, it's pretty significant what's left. Now, keep in mind, you're going to have to decide, do you want the 3-year contract? They call it the 36-month. The 60-month, which is the 5-year, or the 7-year, which is the 84 months? Or do you want to take advantage of the bonus pack that they're offering right now, where you can actually pay $1,000, which would typically only get you 10 contracts, but you're going to get 5 bonus contracts for free? When you see the value of these contracts, you're going to understand just how significant that is, that you can get 5 additional contracts for free. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the difference between these terms and why it is you want to be careful about the mix that you're picking. Remember, 3-year, 5-year, or 7-year staking terms, you decide. No matter which one you decide, it's the same $100 processing fee, but the loans are different and the results are different as well. So let's start with the 3 years. If you decide you want the 3-year staking term, $100 processing fee, the bank then makes a loan to the staking contract of $30,240 on your behalf. Then that's going to micro compound for 3 straight years. At the end of that 3 years, everybody's been paid. There's been insurance companies getting paid every single month. The bank has gotten paid their annual interest every single year. And then at the end, they get their $30,240 back, and you get what's left over. In this case, what's left over? A little over $35,000 per 3-year staking contract that you have gone out there and purchased. For the 5-year contract, you'll notice the loan is almost 50% bigger. So a bigger loan and 2 more full years of staking. So you can imagine it's going to be a much bigger number. In fact, it's over 471,000 left over for you. And for the 7-year contract, $1.5 million and change left over for you. Remember, once again, you can get any combination that you want, but there's still a maximum of 80 contracts per account holder, no exceptions. Now, the way that it's going to work is once you actually select your contract term, you're going to pay the $100 processing fee, and then you will notice instantly, if you pick a 3 or 5 or 7 year, the loan is made to the staking pool instantaneously. So you pay the $100. This is the person who picked a 3-year term, and right away they saw $30,240 locked into the staking pool. It's done instantaneously, and again, you don't get to touch that, so that takes away all the risk of you doing anything else with the funds. Now, within about 24 to 48 hours, that loan starts to compound. So you start to see somewhere between 0.1 to 0.3% on a daily basis compounded off of this initial risk capital. That's the best part here, right? That's the magic, is that you're getting the initial risk capital, but the risk capital is not yours. So that's why this is an impressive return. Now, that is going to compound every single day. It's going to get bigger and bigger. And again, after a few years, you start to see these explosive returns that we were actually talking about. Now, of course, that's going to bring us to the first elephant in the room, right? Let's face it, guys. I told you in the beginning, once you understood the offer, you're going to say, that can't be real. I mean, let's face it. If I asked anybody, I'll give you $100, give me $100 and I'll give you back 35,000 in 3 years, 471 in 5 years, or 1.5 million in 7 years, everyone on the planet would say yes. In fact, they'd say, hey, how many $100 bills can I give you, right, to be able to get those types of returns? If and only if they believe that it was real. So let's talk about the detail that we went into to actually confirm that this was real. The first thing we did is we found people that had already been around, since Cryptex had started. So they've been around for more than 3 years, and they were already getting their payouts because we wanted to see that they were really able to withdraw this money. So we found this gentleman, and he was gracious enough to let us do a snapshot of his back office. You'll see this in yours, Overview Withdrawal Funds, and you can see the first withdrawal he did was on January 10th of 2023 for $98,800. Guys, 1 day later on January 11th of 2023, he withdrew $89,487. 2 months later, March 15th of 2023, $100,000. 3 days later, March 18th, $100,000. 2 days later after that, March 20th, 112,000. And then 1 day later after that, March 21st, another $100,580. Guys, that's more money in 2 months than a lot of people make working a full-time job in 10 years. So we were able to see the explosive nature of what was happening here with Cryptex, and the fact that people indeed were able to go in and withdraw those funds. Now, this gentleman right here, Mo, he did something extraordinary for us. He actually documented the entire process for us. So it was pretty cool because you were able to see it step by step. So what he showed was he had gotten 2 contracts, 2 3-year contracts at the time that he did. You can see the start date right here, 11/20/2020. Back then, they were still giving out $43,200 loans for the 3-year contracts. They don't do that anymore, but that's what it was back then. So he got 2 $43,000 loans, and they were actually contracted in on 11/20/2020, and then you could see that on 11/21/2023, that was going to be the contracts in date. Now, what you see up here is the email that he got from Cryptex support exactly on November 21st of 2023. It was automatically initiated by the smart contract. And in essence, the email said, Mo, hey, come get your dough. It basically laid it out for him. Here's your DeFi contract numbers. This is what this is in reference to. You got the buy one. At that time, it was a buy one, get one free offer. You got those 2 contracts. Here's the total of the wallet balance right now starting was 501,000. After some in-user fees, we brought it down to 485,000. Now, Mo, check this out. We got to give the bank back their money. That is our deal with the banks. So that's a loan reversal. 2 times 43,200 is 86,400. That's going back to the bank. And what's left over for you, Mo, $398,745.68. $398,745.68. I'm very specific about that number because I want you to see here on the next slide. Mo then took a back office picture of his back office Cryptex wallet, and you can see the last deposit, $398,745.68. The exact amount that he was owed. They placed it into his back office account right away. Mo then went down and hit withdraw. And this is what he did. After going through the withdrawal process, he was able to show that he was successfully able to take out all of that money out of the Cryptex system and put it into his own custodial wallet. So here he is logged into his custodial wallet on his cell phone. And you can see right there, 10.597 Bitcoin. It's $388,653.68. There was about a 4% withdrawal fee. That's why the number is slightly lower. But even at 10.597 Bitcoin, 388 grand, guys, this is back in November of 2023. As you know, if he just held on to this for about 1 year until the top of 2025, this would have went from being worth about 388 grand to over $1 million, as Bitcoin had eclipsed at that point over $100,000 per coin. So I don't know what Mo did with his money. It's not my business, but ultimately, either way, whether he spent it all right away or held it for a year, it's a whole lot of money for making one business decision 3 years earlier. And that's what we're asking you to do tonight. Now, for me, the only other thing I needed to see, I love seeing other people talk about their success, but the only other thing I wanted to see was the blockchain evidence, right? Because, if you know anything about the blockchain, when you're doing blockchain projects, one of the best things is the blockchain is transparent, secure, and public, and it cannot be faked. And that's what I loved about it. So we wanted to see some of the evidence of the type of funds that Cryptex was paying out to people around the world. And this is what people did. Once they got their payments, they simply saw the blockchain wallet that it came from, tracked back to those wallets to find out what the volume was from Cryptex. And this is what they saw, guys. They found this first wallet that had transacted 26,530 times on the Bitcoin blockchain for, check this number out, $52,682,588,662. This is one wallet that they found from Cryptex, just one. Okay, it had taken in 52 billion, and it only puts that money there. It only deposits it so it can be withdrawn by people like you and I, and then it paid out that exact same amount, 52 billion plus dollars. Guys, this is actually what it looks like. These red arrows are people actually taking the withdrawals. The green arrows are the commissions that Cryptex is actually putting in there so it can be withdrawn. So here's a red arrow for you, $6.9 million going out to account holders like me and you. Another red arrow, $451,000 going out. Another red arrow, 4.99 million. Another red arrow, 5.038 million. And again, this is just one Cryptex wallet. I took this snapshot. You can see here in on May 13th. But again, just one wallet. You want to see a bigger one, guys? Here's another payment wallet that Cryptex has 189,830 transactions that it's done on the Bitcoin blockchain. And check this number out, guys. 516 billion with a B, 241,580,691 dollars. I'd never seen companies that have paid out this level of income to the people that were engaged with their platforms before in my life. Now, I know the second elephant in the room because, again, I got cynical friends too. And I just wanted to tell you, my cynical friend, I showed this to him. He said, man, that's amazing. That's a whole lot of money that's going out. But how do I know this isn't just a $100 Ponzi scheme? How do I know that they're really doing what they said that they're doing? And it's not just based off of the $100 processing fees that people are paying. Man, I love that question because I love math. And I said, let's do some math. So here's the first little bit of math. There's a little over 800,000 people that are using the platform. Let's round it all the way up to 900,000 and then multiply that number by the $100 processing fee that they all would have paid. That's 90 million right there, right? Now, let's assume, because people can get more than one contract, let's assume that all 900,000 people got a full 80 contracts. That would be 90 million times 80. That's $7.2 billion. Now, that is a lot of money. But if you remember, I just showed you two wallets, only two of the 7 or 8 or 9 wallets that people have identified up until this point. And the smaller wallet was for $52 billion. Where's the discrepancy of the $45 billion in this particular equation that Cryptex has paid out? Guys, the only way it makes sense is if every single one of these $100 bills actually represents a $30,000, a $40,000 loan that's then actually compounding. In other words, they're doing exactly what they said that they're doing. There's simply not enough money on the table based off of a $100 bill for them to be able to pay out this type of money. So that eliminated that elephant in the room. Now, once you understand that, like once we actually got to that point and we really understood that this was real and what we had our hands on, we said every single person we know, they got to see this, right? Every single person, because we didn't know anybody who couldn't benefit from having Cryptex DeFi hybrid contracts in their long-term wealth portfolio to take care of themselves and their families in the future. Now, if you feel the same way, I want to show you how you can turn that feeling into real income that you can start earning immediately. So let's go through these 3 different ways that you can be compensated, and then we're going to wrap this up. The first way is the direct commissions that are paid out immediately. This is based off of the $100 referral fee or the $100 processing fees that's going out for the 3, 5, and 7-year contracts. Here's how it works, guys. Level 1 says 30%. What does that mean? It means every single person that you personally introduce to Cryptex, every single time they spend $100, you're going to make $30, 30% of that. So if they go out and get 80 contracts individually, you'll make $30 80 times. If they go out and do it in the mix that we suggest, when they can take advantage of some of the promotions, they could get 80 contracts for $6,500. You would make $30 65 times, guys. So this is incredible what they're offering up front. Now, on top of that, they give you 5% on level 2, 5% on level 3, et cetera, et cetera. So you're getting paid down through 10 levels. Once we saw this, we said this is incredibly explosive. And then we had to ask one question. How many people do you think the average person would share this with, even if they weren't prolific, even if they were trying to keep it a secret, but there's just a handful of people they cared about? Who are those people that they cared about? How many do you think it would be? We came back with some crazy numbers, 10, 15, 20. We said, let's make it 3. What if they only shared it with 3 people? They were being very secretive about it, and those 3 did the same, and so on and so on. You'd still end up with some huge numbers as you multiplied that and figured it out through 10 different levels. Now, we're telling everybody on our team, go for the full 80 contracts. Why not? Why not get the most amount of wealth building for your family that you could? But what if everybody here only got 10 contracts, guys? If they did that, this is still what you would earn. First hundreds, then thousands, then tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and millions of dollars just off the front end of the compensation structure that Cryptex was offering, just for going out and telling other people about this incredible platform. Now, in addition to that, they had something else called their daily profit sharing. And this was interesting to me because I love this concept. Because when I thought about Cryptex, I said, man, that getting paid off of that front end $100 is awesome. But you know what would be better? Getting paid off of the value of the contracts when they terminated on the back end. And Cryptex apparently had the same idea. So they said, listen, guys, here's what we're also going to do. On the back end, we're going to pay you a 20 level deep unilevel, starting at 8%, going all the way down to 1%, but based off of the executed value of the contract. Here's an example. On that previous slide, we showed you a 10 level deep, and we said on your 5th level, you had 243 referrals, 2,430 contracts. You got paid 4% there, $4 out of $100, $9,720. Well, on the back end, when those contracts started to actually execute, let's say they were all 3-year contracts for this example, you're going to get paid 4% again, but now it's not 4% of $100. It's 4% of the $35,000 value of a 3-year contract. That's $1,400 per contract. We've got 2,430 of those contracts. That's $3.4 million. Think about that for a moment. Focus on that number. And then think about the types of payments that we saw going out of that Bitcoin blockchain wallet that Cryptex had. Millions and millions of dollars being paid out to people just like you and me, just because they didn't keep it a secret, because they went out and shared it with their community. And now they were getting a much bigger reward on the back end for them and their family. That was incredible for us. And guys, think about this as you think that $3.4 million is a lot of money. I did this based off of the 3-year contracts. Imagine if these were 5-year or 7-year contracts. Let that math kind of settle in your mind for a second. Guys, finally, for those of you that are here that are leaders, and I know we got a lot of leaders that are chiming in who are incredibly prolific, if you can go out and you can do what you do, which is just share this with everybody that you know and really make sure that you embrace this concept and get dedicated, you share it with 100 people personally who each get at least one contract. That's it, just one contract. And by the time you get those 100 referrals, if you have 1,000 contracts within your entire team, doesn't matter how many levels, just within your entire team, you are going to now be put at that leader level. Now, as for hitting that level, you will instantly get a $5,000 bonus for hitting that level. But what gets better than that is that every month after that, Cryptex is going to simply look at the production that you've had on your 1st and 2nd levels. And they're going to say that every single month where you have 100 new contracts coming in between those first 2 levels, I want to stress what I just said again, not 100 new people, 100 new contracts. They could be coming from the same people, just trying to get closer and closer to their 80. Once you have 100 new contracts coming in between those first 2 levels, Cryptex will pay you $5 to infinity for every new contract that came on your team that month. Guys, as an example, let's say that you were building down through that 3x3 example, and I showed you in the beginning. By the time you got to the 7th level, you had 2,100 plus people on your 7th level, 21,000 plus contracts, and you made $3 per on the front end. That's the 3% of the $100, so 65 grand. But remember, now all of a sudden, let's say by the time you got to the 7th level, you had actually qualified for the leader bonus. Guys, all of a sudden, we take this 21,870 and pay you an additional $5 on top of the $3. That additional $5 on its own is worth an additional 109 grand plus to you. That's on the 7th level. Imagine the 8th, the 9th, the 10th. And because it's through infinity, imagine the 15th, the 20th, the 30th level, etc. This is how leaders go out and turn this into wealth building while they're waiting for their contracts to cash out on the other end. They're able to get wealthy all along the way. And oh, by the way, even if you can't get the 100 new contracts between the first 2 levels, let's say you just get 50. If you get 50, still a $2 bonus through infinity. If you only get 20 or more, a $1 bonus through infinity. So Cryptex is really looking for ways to reward their leadership. Finally, guys, let's take this out of the theoretical and let's get into the actual, right? Let's get into the real world. This is a 3-year case study. This is an actual individual who was involved with Cryptex. And at this point, when we got these snapshots, 3 years and 3 months, they were in Cryptex, and they wanted to show us just how powerful this compensation is and how it all works together. So first, we're going to show you the overview of their profits log. This is what they were actually making from their staking profits for their personal contracts. The profits from staking, $4.7 million and growing, because until these contracts actually terminate, they are accruing more and more interest and compounding every single day. So 4.7 million and growing at this point. Their rewards referral staking. This is their team rewards that they're getting for overriding their team contracts, 2.8 million and growing. So this 7.6 million number after 3 years, this is where it was at. But remember, some of these contracts are for 5 years, some of these contracts are for 7 years. So this number is going to go way higher, potentially 10, 15, 20 million or more. And as those contracts start opening up, all of this money flows over here to where they can withdraw it. Let's look, however, at the money that they were able to withdraw by this point. $2.1 million in 3 years and 3 months. Over that 3-year period, they made 584 grand from their 10 level unilevel that they were getting. That was based off of the $100 processing fees. They also, some point along their journey, hit the leader program. That means they got their 100 front line that we were talking about, right? Another 912,000 they made from that. So 1.5 million bucks right there between those two on the front end before any contracts ever opened up. Now, because they were in for 3 years and 3 months, in that 3-month period, they had a few contracts open up for their team. Their override that they picked up at this point was 289 grand, almost $290,000 extra. And they also had 4 of their own contracts open up, $316,000 for those 4 contracts. All in, this person had already withdrawn 2.1 million bucks in 3 years and 3 months. So about $700,000 a year. Not bad income if you can get it. And that's a part-time effort in Cryptex. I've seen people who are hitting this full-time and they are blowing these numbers away. So you consider what type of effort you want to put in, and you can look at what's possible in terms of real results. So now let's get to that final elephant in the room, and then we will shut it down, which is, hey, if this is so incredible, if Cryptex is so amazing and they're so proud of what they're doing, why is everything anonymous? Why can't I just call the banks and the insurance companies? And why can't I have your social security number, et cetera, et cetera? Well, guys, let's do a little history lesson here just to understand how the world actually works. Not how we want it to work, but how it actually works. We're going to talk about Bitcoin and the history of Bitcoin. We all know how powerful Bitcoin is today, but a lot of people don't understand how it got started. So Bitcoin was based on a free market ideology, and Bitcoin was invented in 2008 when an unknown entity published a white paper under the pseudonym of Satoshi Nakamoto. Satoshi Nakamoto. Pseudonym means that wasn't the real name, right? And while it was not the real name, as we understand it today, it wasn't even a person. It was a group of developers. Now, people don't know who they are. They've actually had some ideas of who they are, but they don't actually know who they are. But they do know why they created Bitcoin, because the story was out, right? They created Bitcoin because they were pissed off. Because if you don't remember, back in 2008 was when the housing market simply crashed, and it basically tanked the global financial system. People lost their houses. People lost their life savings. Some people couldn't deal with the pressure. They committed suicide and lost their lives. So it destroyed a lot of people. Now, the worst part about that, though, was that the banks knew it. The banks knew it was going to collapse, and the banks did nothing about it, did not inform people, did not tell anyone. You would think that there would be some severe punishment for that. But let me tell you what their punishment was. Their punishment was that they got bailed out by the US government using our tax dollars. That was their punishment. And with those bailouts, some of these bankers who annihilated the financial system even got bonuses. That pissed a lot of people off, but when it pissed these people off, they decided to do something about it, and they created Bitcoin because they wanted it to be what they called the people's money. It was going to be on a blockchain, so it was going to be transparent. Everybody would be able to see the value of it, and it could not be manipulated. Now, when Bitcoin first actually hit the market space in 2009, it was a little bit of a joke. The price was 0.003, 1/3 of a penny. No one took it seriously, but just 2 years later, it hit price parity with the US dollar. One Bitcoin was equal to $1. And now today in 2025, about $100,000 per Bitcoin. That is massive, massive growth. In fact, it's the greatest return and growth return in the history of mankind. Not bad for something that started off at 1/3 of a penny and people thought was a joke. As a result, there are now over 25,000 cryptocurrencies with a combined market cap value of $3.3 trillion. And as a result of that, there are over 172,000 crypto millionaires, 320 centimillionaires, and 28 billionaires. All of this because Bitcoin was allowed to grow. Now, think about it for a moment. Let's change history a little bit. It's $3.3 trillion as a market cap. That's $3.3 trillion being held for the most part in digital wallets, not inside of banks, which means banks can't control it and banks also can't profit from it. Let's imagine that they knew the identity of Satoshi Nakamoto. And now they start seeing this type of growth and they see all this money, not just millions, but billions and trillions being moved outside of their purview. Do you think they would simply sit back and allow that to happen and not do anything? Or is it possible that all of a sudden you start hearing some weird rumors about Mr. Satoshi Nakamoto and he's a bad person and this and that, and you don't want to be involved with anything that he's doing, any attempt they could make to literally strangle Bitcoin in its infancy? Guys, the reason why we've had all this success is because it was anonymous, and Cryptex is taking the same path, guys. The banks, the insurance companies, the smart contract creators, and us, all anonymous for our own benefit. This has allowed it to run uninterrupted since 2016, and it's set up that people like you and I can be part of the largest wealth creation vehicle in history. If that makes sense to you, we said it at the beginning. I want you to go and get your questions answered and then get started ASAP because the clock is ticking. That's what it is. 3 years only looks like a long time when you're looking forward. When you look back at the last 3 years, you realize just how quick it can go. Let's get started today and have those 3 years whiz by and watch yourself get paid. Guys, if you want that to be you, if you want to make a decision today that can dramatically change the financial future for you and your family, go back, get your questions answered, get started, and let me be the first to say welcome to the team. We look forward to working with you, and we look forward to celebrating your financial success. Thanks so much for being here, guys. Have a great day, and we'll see you again here back soon.